Welcome back for another lore video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a joyful, compassionate, and brave race, the Halfling. I'll start off talking about the Halfling race as a whole, such as their culture and sub-races, and then near the end of the video, we'll talk about the Halfling when relating to Baldur's Gate 3 specifically, so you're going to want to stick around for that. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to a recent YouTube channel member, The Red Dragon, and also thank you to some recent channel patrons, Shy Violet, Vegas, and T-Virus. I really appreciate all of your guys' support. If you end up enjoying this video, please subscribe, for there will be much more Baldur's Gate 3 content on the way. Links to my Twitter and my Discord server will be below. Let's talk about the Halflings. Halflings are humanoid creatures whose physical appearance is very similar to humans, but you guessed it, they're about half of a human's height. In fact, the name Halfling was derived from this observation. An average Halfling stands between 2'8" to 3'4" inches tall, or 81 to 100 centimeters. Their average lifespan was a little longer than humans and was around 150 years. Most Halflings had dark hair and eyes, and skin complexion similar to the range that humans have. Male Halflings were not really capable of growing good beards though, but they did have a great sideburn game. The Halfling race was well known for getting along well with most other races, and were also known for their curiosity, especially in collecting things. Other races sometimes referred to Halflings as the good folk and the sly folk. Most of us know of this race from Tolkien's Hobbits, and actually in the original 1974 release of Dungeons & Dragons, Halflings appeared under the name Hobbits. Tolkien's work has inspired much of the fantasy that we know today, and I think most of us are grateful for that. The average Halfling was joyful in nature and very friendly in their dealings with others, and just because of that, I might have to do an evil playthrough as a schizophrenic serial killer Halfling. Halflings were a practical race and took pleasure in the simple things. Like in Tolkien's world, Halfling adventurers were a less common sight, for the great love that they have for home and family was of prime importance to them. However, in modern age Forgotten Realms, the Halfling culture is changing, and Halfling-run adventure companies are becoming much more common in major cities of Faerun. Although their lack of ambition for crazy adventures didn't mean that they were a boring race, for they were notoriously curious and preferred trouble over boredom. It was also less common for Halflings to aspire to greatness in the same way as a typical human's view of greatness might be. In our modern-day social media society, we could use a Halfling societal takeover. I think it would benefit us all. If you have the pleasure of befriending a Halfling, they typically make for loyal and courageous companions, much like the hardy dwarves in that way, and they are certainly willing to put their own lives at risk for others. Their immense bravery and daring is actually hard to match with many of the other races. Brave, loyal, compassionate, care more about family and home than world-renowned fame, Halflings are a race to admire. We can't forget that they also do love to party, with their vast food culture, drinks, narcotics, and clothing. Halfling communities were found all around the world of Toril, usually near or within other settlements from other races. They were very good at fitting in with other communities with races such as humans, elves, dwarves, and gnomes. Although they do value the place that they call home, their home was many times on the move, for many Halfling communities were actually nomadic by nature. As we said earlier, Halflings tend to be less adventurous, and that kind of contradicts a nomadic lifestyle. So when I say less adventurous, I'm more so referring to forming dragon hunting parties, or wandering off into the Underdark in search of treasure. Not all Halflings were like our very own Regis Rumblebelly. If you happen to know who he is, let me know below in the comments. Since the occurrence of the devastating spell plague in the late 14th century of the Forgotten Realms, many races' homes were destroyed, including many homes of the Halflings. Now, in modern-day 15th century, the greatest concentrations of Halflings could be found within the nation of Amn, south of Baldur's Gate. They could also be commonly found along the Sea of Fallen Stars. Human cities in general were the most common place where you could be sure to find them. Halflings didn't recognize kings or nobles like other races do, but instead placed great honor in their wise family elders. Their society is filled with tradition and a sense of community. The telling of stories and legends was one such tradition, and a lot of preservation and care is put into the retelling of these stories. Now, there are many subraces of halflings that have existed and still exist, and all of these take on their own qualities. The Anadian halflings resided on a planet called Anadia, which is the planet closest to the sun in the realm space. This planet had large populations of halflings that survived on the poles of the planet, for the rest of the planet was too hot to survive. The Anadian halflings tended to be people of extreme emotions and attitudes. The Ghostwise halflings were the rarest of the halfling peoples, and were reclusive and known for their strange talent for communicating without speech. These were the more barbaric type of halflings, and sometimes could be seen riding giant owls. Lightfoot halflings were the most common subrace of halflings, and they were typically nomadic by nature. They took great pride in meeting new creatures and people. They were very comfortable living alongside other cultures, and they might even adapt other cultural practices, including the worship of certain deities. The Lightfoot halflings are the ones that really give halflings a great overall reputation. The Strongheart halflings, also known as the Stout halflings, were the subrace of halflings that were very martially inclined, and could be compared in many ways to the industrious dwarves. There is very little out there that could upset or corrupt this subrace. They are very tough. In combat, halflings were quick and dexterous, and the race as a whole is regarded as a lucky race, for it seemed like they were less likely to be injured in perilous circumstances. Their smaller size came with its advantages, for halflings were good at stealth and generally hard to catch. However, with that small size comes the inability to wield larger weapons, such as greatswords and halberds, so keep that in mind in Baldur's Gate 3. Now let's bring up a screenshot of the halfling in Baldur's Gate 3 specifically in character creation and go over the features so you know what you're going to be getting. In Baldur's Gate 3, you'll be able to choose between multiple subraces of halflings. We know for sure that the Lightfoot halfling will be one of these choices. The other likely choice will be the Stout halfling, for it is in the 5e D&D player's handbook, but who knows, maybe we'll also get to see the Ghostwise subrace. All halflings will get a +2 to dexterity, which makes them great for many classes, especially the ones that rely primarily on dexterity, such as rogues, rangers, and possibly even fighters. Many other classes that don't necessarily rely on dexterity as their main ability, including some of the spellcasters, can still benefit greatly from a higher dexterity, for it will boost their armor class number. All halflings will also get a feature called Lucky, and this is, in many people's opinions, one of the best racial features that you can get in Dungeons & Dragons, and this will likely also apply for Baldur's Gate 3. Lucky is a feature that allows you to re-roll your die whenever you roll a 1 on attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws. So basically, if you get really unlucky and roll that dreadful 1, you could potentially turn that around to be a nat 20, which is crazy and lucky. As the subrace of the Lightfoot halfling specifically, you'll also get a +1 to charisma to go along with the +2 to dexterity. You'll also get a racial feature called naturally stealthy, which allows you to attempt to hide even when you're obscured only by a creature that is at least one size larger than you. So basically, as a halfling, you could hide out in the open if you're blocked by a creature that is larger than you, which is most creatures. This will likely be a very situational feature, but it could come in handy. If the game has the Stout halfling as the other subrace choice, then you'll get a +1 to Constitution to go along with the +2 to Dexterity, and you'll also get resistance to poison damage and advantage on saving throws against poison. The Stout halfling is basically the more tough choice, and goes great with classes that you want to have more survivability with. Halflings will likely have a base walking speed of 25 feet, which is shorter than many other races that get, say, 30 feet to move per turn. However, your small size will allow you to be able to move through areas of creatures that are larger than you, which can save you some distance, and also your general ability to hide behind things better than other races may make it so that you don't necessarily need to be able to move as far per turn as the other races need to. And that will be it for the Halfling race. When the game actually comes out, we can do some more in-depth videos on the sub-races and their features and stuff like that. There's not as much lore available for the Halflings and the Forgotten Realms as there are for some of the other races. Hopefully you guys still enjoyed this video. I really do love the Halfling race overall as a whole. They're going to be great to have in the game, and I do definitely plan on doing a playthrough with one of them. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's a huge help to my videos. I do all sorts of content on this channel, ranging from live streams to game reviews to game tutorials and much more. I will be live streaming early access on this channel, so turn on the bell notifications if you don't want to miss that. Until next time.